Hello, and welcome back to another episode of It's Always Sunny in Hawaii, where we are taking a trip over to how do you say it? Molokai?
Molokai.
I've never been to Hawaii. I'm sorry.
Molokai.
But hey, it's gonna be a fascinating trip. I'm your host, Lugia, and with me are.
My
I'm
name is Patty.
I'm Drum Arts. Ohana means family. I don't know much about Hawaii except Lilo and Stitch. Is that take place in Hawaii?
No, Moana is Polynesian, I believe.
I always thought Polynesian and like Hawaii were like in the same kind of like
You're asking
area.
the wrong guy.
It's just that Hawaii is like part of the United States. Kind of like how like North Ireland is part of the United States, but like the rest of Ireland is its own entity. I need to double check this. Polynesian Islands. Because, like, from what I understand, like, other Polynesian islands aren't, like, that culturally different. Yeah, Hawaii is part of the Polynesian Islands. Hawaii is just also, like, an American thing, but, like, the other Polynesian islands are just not American. So, Samoa, Tahiti, New Zealand, they're all Polynesian, but, Hawaii is the only one that, America has. I don't know if there's any other Hawaiian movies I'm aware of. I think Punch Drunk Love had them go to Hawaii for like a brief second, getting
You guys
Sarah
ever seen Soul
Marshall.
Surfer?
I have. Holy shit, I completely forgot about that movie.
That is also Hawaii.
I mean, I figured it makes sense, surfing. Okay. Apparently, the movie The Descendants is Hawaii, which we've talked about Alexander Payne before, so I guess I haven't seen
For
that one
which
though.
movie?
Apparently, The Descendants by Alexander Payne is a Hawaiian film.
Yeah, but what did
Um,
he make that we talked about?
Election.
Oh, okay.
He did Election, The Holdovers, Sideways, that wine movie. There's also Aloha by Cameron Crowe. I don't know if we've talked about Cameron Crowe before. Did we do Almost Famous?
No.
No.
Then I don't think we've ever talked about him. Alright, cool. What are we talking about?
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
So anyway, a lot of people died this week. Why don't you start, Patty?
Okay. To start off, actor Dabney Coleman passed away at the age of 92.
I'm familiar with Dabney Cole because of his Coleman because of his work in film. He was in War Games and You've Got Mail, which are the ones I've seen. Apparently Tootsie 2, which is a Sidney Pollack movie. Haven't seen that, but apparently it's a pretty popular film. So, and his final role was in Yellowstone.
I mostly know him for Recess and 9 to 5.
I haven't actually seen 9 to 5. What's that about?
9 to 5 is about three women in an office who kidnap their boss
Is
to try
Dolly
to
Parton
make
in
the
it?
workplace better.
Okay.
Yes, that's like her most
Working
that's
9
the
to
that's the movie that kind of launched her into stardom.
We mentioned Lilo and Stitch earlier, but apparently he was in the Lilo and Stitch TV series.
Yeah, makes sense. A lot of these like character actors tend to be voice actors on like TV shows. Just pretty cool. A lot of other people died this week too. Do you guys use Twitter?
No.
Uh, I browse Twitter. I wouldn't say I primarily use it though.
Okay. I don't know if you noticed this, but like over like the last week, a lot of people were like making fun of Super Size Me for some reason.
Oh
And
yeah.
then like immediately, like 2 days after people were making fun of it, he dies, and everyone's like, "What the fuck did we cause this?" It's a fucking it's like the shit in Ratatouille where everyone's like, "Oh, he gets criticized once and then dies." It's like, "Oh my god." But yeah,
It's like everyone was
more or less,
talking about how it's a
the
movie.
movie is like really bad.
Well,
Yeah,
not just that, but like the way that he
like
got
it's
like
fake.
overweight was because of his alcoholism.
He said that he had liver issues in the film, and he tried to imply that was because of McDonald's, but then people found out he's an alcoholic, and it was like, I mean, that's why like alcohol destroys the liver. That's what alcohol does. So everyone's like, that was just your alcoholism, dude. Apparently, like when people try to recreate the experiment, it like turned out to not be true, and he was basically lying about it. Which I always thought was kind of interesting about the documentary because objectively speaking, Super Size Me is the most successful documentary of all time because all of his goals that he wanted to get done with the documentary actually like happened. Like McDonald's doesn't really advertise towards kids anymore. They got rid of the supersize option. So all that stuff is like true, like worked, which I always think was interesting. And Super Size Me is also an interesting documentary because it's something that everyone nowadays knows is bullshit and no one likes, but we all also know like McDonald's is unhealthy and we always knew that. Like the point he's being made, it was basically just like he made false evidence, but like to make like I guess a true point, and everyone just kind of rolled with it because I mean everyone just kind of wanted an excuse at that point. McDonald's was having a lot of controversy back then, so I think this movie just kind of like really tapped into the zeitgeist at the right moment. But yeah, interesting guy. Guys like him not really around anymore. He seems very much like a kind of an artifact of the 2000s, which is interesting because I don't know if you guys remember like the 2000s, but we had like a pretty crazy kind of documentary culture and kind of guys like this who were kind of like
Did we?
fight. The 2000s is like the documentary decade. Reality TV was that fucking ever. I mean, cooking shows started. Then Jackass got really popular. Reality TV in general got popular. Everyone was watching like cops and stuff. Like Super Size Me is just kind of tapping into that. Michael Moore won the fucking Palme d'Or during the
For,
2000s.
for
So yeah,
Fahrenheit 9/11, right?
yeah. And Bowling for Columbine was pretty popular too. People tell me those
And
movies don't really hold up. I haven't ever seen them though, but yeah.
me
A lot
neither.
of the 2000, a lot of like 2000s reality stuff doesn't really hold up. Like people like a lot of people say that like the 2000s in general doesn't hold up because 2000s was objectively kind of like the most offensive decade. But I would argue that a lot of like those offensive stuff is still funny and still good. Like, well, we saw Team America. Like, it's offensive, but it's still funny. Like, whatever. Stuff like this, like it actually kind of like ages poorly because it's just like verifiably false. Yeah,
Remember
that
back
was
when
a
we were in elementary school, like every year, every spring, there would be like a Disney nature documentary in theaters, and it would be like
yeah.
like a school field trip to go see it. I never participated in it, but I know it was a thing.
Yeah, March of the Penguins was, I think, the one that really kickstarted that whole thing. I will say, like, I kind of hate 2000s documentary culture a lot because a lot of it was just garbage reality TV. But all the science stuff on like Discovery Channel and like Steve Irwin and all that stuff, that was pretty fun. I like that. Man versus Wild was kind of stupid though. He drank his own piss. Anyway, we're talking about deaths. Yes, the penguins are all dead now. I'm kidding. Speaking of animals dying though, that's a horrible transition. Um, Kabosu, the dog behind the Doge meme, has unfortunately passed away. Rest in peace, Doge.
18 years, right?
Yes. So that's a pretty long life
Yeah, for a
for a
dog, that
dog.
is impressive. Because most dogs live to like 15.
Last bit of news is Richard M. Sherman of the Sherman Brothers, who's most famous for a couple films that we actually talked about on the podcast, Mary Poppins and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, as well as some tunes from Disneyland like It's a Small World, has unfortunately passed away at 95. Honestly, I had no idea he was still alive, but it's pretty tragic. In fact,
Mm,
don't
He
it's really
left
weird?
behind one hell of a legacy, though.
Yeah, don't it's
absolutely.
crazy? Literally the day before he passed away, I was like explaining to my friends like the Sherman Brothers like legacy. I was explaining to like one of my friends who didn't know the Sherman Brothers. I was like, "You don't know who they are?" And so I was like explaining to them legacy. And then like 3 hours later, it was announced he died. I was like, "Oh my god, what are the odds?" Morgan Spurlock too. I was like, Jesus, I feel like a lot of jinxes happened this week for me. Yeah, rest in peace, the Sherman Brothers. Mary Poppins. Great film. Love the music in it.
All right. So, Hard Ticket to Hawaii was directed and written by Andy Sidaris. I don't know how you pronounce that last name, but I'm just going to go with it. And it was released in 1987. Unfortunately, this time I could not find what the budget was for this movie, nor do I even know that it was released in theaters. But I do know that this movie was pretty much self-funded by Sidaris himself because he used the profits from his previous movie, Malibu Express, because he does not like the idea of bringing a script into a studio and having like some kid fresh out of college like direct it for him. He thought it was a lot better to just finance his own movies, probably because it was also the cheaper option, but it was also more authentic to him. And I didn't know this until literally looking this up 20 minutes ago, but there is kind of like an Andy Sidaris cinematic universe So there's Malibu Express, which is its own thing. Then there's Hard Ticket to Hawaii, which we're talking about. But there's also a sequel called Picasso Trigger, which has primarily the main cast. So it's a continuation of that movie. And there's a few more movies that have some recurring cast members, like Donna Spear, who continues to play her character. Hope Marie Carlton, who played Taryn, also shows up in some of them, as well as Cynthia Brimhall, who plays Edie. So I thought this was just like a one and done, and he just made a bunch of other action movies with other actors. But no, like he used
No,
some of the
the
same actors.
Donna Spear and Hope are like in all of his films. It's kind of funny.
Well, Donna Spear specifically is in most of them because during the production of Hard Ticket to Hawaii, she was intoxicated for most of the shoot. But when she was offered a second chance for a Picasso Trigger, she was remaining sober, and her experience with Andy Sidaris kind of helped her like stay off of alcohol. And she worked with him around like 5 to 6 more films afterwards. So if anything, there was something very positive that came out from this experience, which is kind of cool.
Yes, I did my own research on Andy Sidaris actually out of curiosity, and it's interesting that like he was able to like kind of keep his cast together for so long, and also a lot of tits in this movie. So like I just like Googled him and I was like, who is this guy? Because it's kind of interesting. He made so many movies with the same people, and they're all kind of like it seems like they had to be like decently successful, and then they're all Playboy models. All these women are Playboy models. It was like, oh, that explains a lot. That's who his audience was. He was just like, these were Playboy movies. I was like, oh, like that seems so obvious. Like
It
now that
makes
I
a
say it
lot
out
more
loud.
sense now, especially
Yeah.
when the first 2 minutes of this movie you just see breasts.
So
Nobody,
it's
nobody
all
in this movie, with the exception of one person, believes in bras. Jamie's on the beach with what's his name? I don't remember his name. She's getting her pictures taken, and then they both die. So I guess the moral is free the nipple or get bitten by a snake.
I got another fun fact. So you remember the main villain, Mr. Chang, and how we first see him on the yacht and they deploy an RC helicopter?
Yeah.
That yacht belongs to Glenn A. Larson. And if you don't know who he is, he's basically responsible for a lot of well-known primetime television series like Battlestar Galactica and Magnum PI and Knight Rider and The Fall Guy.
he was like a pretty big dude in the 80s. I did not expect that fucking. I was like, oh, it's like okay, Fall Guy, Magnum PI, Knight Rider, that makes sense. Then you throw Battlestar Galactica. I'm like, hold the floor. What the fuck do you mean you made Battlestar Galactica 2? Because like the rest are like those are like sleazy, like macho, manly, like the 80s like cop shows. Like Magnum PI is like the most like macho. That's like Tom Selleck. That's like Knight Rider's like the David Hasselhoff in his fucking talking car. Or the Fall Guy's about a stuntman. But he's also in Battlestar Galactica, which is trying to appeal to the Star Trek demographic. That's fucking crazy. He did Buck Rogers. What is this dude's career? Oh my god. The Hardy Boy and Nasser Jew. Okay,
So does Andy have connections to this guy? Is that how he was able to
I
rent the yacht?
guess. And I got one more fun fact. Andy's wife,
Okay.
Arlene, in an interview said that the movie was almost given an X rating, and you're not going to believe for what reason, for the exploding doll scene. Out of everything in the movie, that one scene almost gave this movie an X rating.
you're going from softcore to hardcore.
Was it just because there was the presence of a sex doll? I don't know.
Probably, yeah. That's kind of how rating boards are. It's sometimes pretty arbitrary. It's just kind of
So
stuff
you're
like
telling
this.
me you can show tits in cinema, but having a sex doll just exist is going too far.
Basically, I mean, at least back then, there was certain arbitrary limits that was put to stuff. I mean, arbitrary limits exist to this day. For example, in a PG-13 movie, you can say "fuck you," but if you say "I want to fuck you," that's not allowed. Then it becomes an R-rated film. You can't refer. You
We've
can
moved
say
past
"fuck" as an.
we've moved past those days. You ever seen Lars and the Real Girl? The co-star in that movie is literally a sex doll.
All right, I think that does it for the fun facts. So, what is Hard Ticket to Hawaii about? Well, it is about two operatives for the agency, Donna and Taryn, who accidentally come across packages of diamonds from drug smugglers. And they also accidentally take aboard a toxic snake. So it's literally just stop the drug dealers, and there's a snake there. Although there are more characters that we see throughout the movie, but you don't meet some of them for part way into the film, like the main guys, Rowdy and Jade. We don't see them for quite a while until like they're on the yacht and they get the message, and then 10 to 20 minutes later they're on their way to Donna and Taryn's location.
We also only see the main villain, the guy in the suit. We only see him like 3 times.
I feel like he's just supposed to be like a bad guy beyond the shadows, because the primary threat is Seth, who's sort of a lackey, but like he's still a constant presence throughout. And then Mr. Chang is like the one pulling the strings. So it makes sense that we don't see him like that often.
I'll be real, I kind of lost track of who was who.
That's fair.
Like, there's that one guy who, the only thing I remember about him is that he was a news reporter and he was interviewing these 2 guys and they both curse live on the air.
Jimmy
And
John?
he's kind of depressed about that yeah, he's kind of depressed about that for 2 minutes and like, wait, no, they like it. Keep it going. Keep rolling.
So at the end of the movie, we see like the main characters like have their own partners, Rowdy and Donna, Jade and Edie, and I guess Taryn and Jimmy John. I guess they just wanted to fill that hole for Taryn. I don't know. Because like Jimmy John just kind of does his own thing. Like he's not really part of the central conflict. As a whole, what did we think?
It was okay. I feel honestly kind of like completely indifferent to it.
I honestly thought it would be a bit more fun. Like, there are definitely some moments that caught me off guard by how stupid they were, but they were honestly pretty few and far between.
Honestly, yeah. Well, I feel like this movie doesn't really pick up steam until like near the middle, when we get the skateboard scene and the razor blade frisbee. Like that's when it starts to pick up. Because everything else beforehand kind of just feels like sex appeal. And that's basically it. You got Andy Sidaris' character as a self-insert. He plays Whitey. And he literally goes to a restaurant just to hit on some women. And also some of the scenes with Donna and Taryn are literally just made for sex appeal.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with sex appeal, but I also kind of want to care about the package it's in, and I really didn't. But yeah, like the skateboarding scene was that caught me off guard. That was definitely the biggest reaction I had gotten to that point. I like I like when the snake bursts through the toilet, and I like when they defeat the snake. The guy says, "Wait, that came through the toilet." Man, just when you thought it was safe to take a piss. And I was so disappointed when I found out that wasn't the tagline on the box. Like, come on, it's right there! It's a perfect tagline.
I don't think that would fly if you're trying to sell the movie, like to a general store.
I don't know, but
I don't think they're trying to sell to a general audience though. That's the thing.
there was also
I don't
this
know,
one moment I know you guys laughed at where Edie is captured and like she's being held hostage by the drug smugglers, and then she gets hit by a pair of nunchucks, and then it immediately cuts to Rowdy and Donna just having sex.
yeah, the edit, her scream transitioning into his, you know,
Orgasm.
finishing. Yes. That happened, and I'm like, that seems like an edit from nowhere. With how random it was. But yeah, like, because it was so unexpected, it got a laugh out of me. There are moments like that throughout the movie. Again, they're only like in the middle and the end, and they're kind of far between. The rest of that is just kind of dull.
Again, there are good moments here throughout, but I feel like if you want to enjoy the whole movie, you kind of got to be in a certain mindset, i.e., absolutely fucking wasted.
Which I don't drink, so.
Because the reason why I suggested this movie was I caught about half of it when watching it with friends, so I did not have the context of what it was like before the halfway point. And I thought this was like the funniest shit ever with what I saw. And everyone was just having a good time, also probably because they were wasted. So it is kind of a little disappointing that the whole movie didn't really deliver on that front. But again, the good parts were definitely good.
Yeah, if nothing else, I was surprised that this movie wasn't poorly shot. Like, it's not a great movie in terms of production values, but like you can tell there's definitely effort into it.
You said it kind of reminded you of Second Glance.
little bit where it's like it's not great, but I can see like there's definitely people trying to make it work, and there is some enjoyment to be had from how cheesy it is. And I did like this. What was the budget for this movie?
I couldn't find it.
You couldn't
All
find
I
it,
know
so
is
I'm
that
guessing
he
probably.
self-financed it because of the money he made from Malibu Express.
So this was probably made on a shoestring budget. So taking that into account, I did find the aerial shots at the beginning with the plane pretty impressive.
Some of the other shots, like near the end, looked pretty cool. The one with the snake, like hiding in the grass, even though like it's obvious the snake is just a puppet, I could like kind of see the intention there, and they try to make it work.
The stuff with the snake kind of reminded me of Bullet Train. I know snakes on a plane is probably more accurate, but I haven't seen it, so Bullet Train it is. Red, do you have anything to add?
Not really. I thought cinematography wise, I think it looks pretty decent, for compared to like other B movies we flicks, it's got like a much nicer kind of coloring and lighting. Part of that might just be because when we've seen like other B movies before, we just kind of saw like a kind of worse quality. But I don't know. I think like the lighting and colors, even like if you look at it with like a worse thing, like it doesn't. It still looks a bit better.
It
So
complements the
I'll give
setting
it some
considering
credit.
it's Hawaii and it's
It
likely
does.
the summertime.
Yeah.
The cinematography was fine. I can't say the same about the ADR. In fact, I think the first time a character spoke when we were watching this together, Patty, you said, was that even synced properly?
Yeah, no, the first line of dialogue, literally the first line of dialogue is ADR'd.
Well, it's all
It's
ADR.
obvious because no, it's painfully obvious because her mouth wasn't moving.
But like even just the microphone quality for all the characters sounded really rough, especially from Donna and Taryn in the scenes where they're just alone together. You can kind of tell they're winging it a little bit.
I also recall when we were watching Lugia, you said you commented on the music.
Yeah, cuz this goes for other movies like Samurai Cop 2. Like just any B grade 80s action movie that has like that distinct synth and bass. I love that sound. I don't know why. It's the kind of style that I can't get enough of.
I'd say overall, it's probably worth watching at least once
With
because again,
friends.
the scenes that did catch me off guard were really funny, but you got to get through a lot of stuff you just don't care about to get to it. So, like one time with friends, maybe get some drinks. Otherwise, I don't really see myself coming back to this one.
Just be ready for lines like "I'll suck the polish off of the nails" or whatever the fuck Rowdy said. I don't know.
So yeah,
Sometimes this movie
this
gets extremely horny.
yeah. So this is a one and done for me, but like I can see myself going back to certain clips,
The
but
the,
the
the
whole
skateboard
thing,
scene is
probably
the
not.
highlight.
I might check out their other
Again,
clips
the
out of
snake
curiosity.
bursting through the toilet.
Yeah,
It has its
I might.
moments, but it needed more.
Also, going to that scene too, where Donna's fighting Seth. It's kind of weird how they fake his death twice. Like, like he gets hit with a harpoon, he falls down, and then the cinematography makes it look like he died. And then he gets back up, and then he gets stabbed with a knife, dies, gets back up, and then he gets bitten by the snake, and finally that's what finishes him.
I am curious about checking out their other movies though.
I might
And
check out
also,
Picasso Trigger just to see where they take
yeah.
the story from there.
Also, when I was looking through the filmography, the Hope Mary Carlton was in this movie called Terminal Exposure, which kind of interesting because it's apparently like a mix of Ferris Bueller and Blowout, but also with all this like all the sleazy shit in here, which
That
is
is
just really funny
quite
to
a
me.
combination.
Yeah, so I'm like,
Yeah, I'll
I need
take
to
two
see
movies I
that.
never
That's
expected to be in the same sentence
crazy.
for 100.
So I just got one more thing, just like one more little moment that I thought was funny. So throughout the
Yeah.
movie, Taryn always talks about James Bond and that she watches a lot of James Bond movies. So there's this one scene where they have to talk to sumo wrestlers to get some information, but they don't speak English. So Taryn is like, I've seen so many James Bond movies, I know all foreign languages, and she speaks very butchered Spanish to them, and it doesn't work.
It's funny is I don't even think that's like a thing in many James Bond movies. I remember that from like the Austin Powers movies, but I've seen a lot of Bond films and I don't remember any stuff like that.
You never did that?
Not really.
Well-
Maybe in the Roger Moore movies, which I haven't seen yet. I've
Well,
only
maybe it's
seen
just
one
because
Roger Moore
James
film.
Bond goes to different countries
He does, yeah.
and they speak their native tongue there. Maybe not Bond himself, but
Not
like some of the
really.
people that he meets.
Not really. They all speak English.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, again, it might happen in the Roger Moore movies, which I haven't seen, and those would have been like the most recent Bond films at the time this was made. But like, it wasn't in the Connery flicks, and it wasn't in the Brosnan movies, or in the Craig movies, or Dalton. So I don't know what he's talking about. It might have been in the Roger Moore films. Who knows?
Anything else we want to add?
No, I think that's about it. I don't know if it would be like a favorite so bad it's good movie, but it's got some good moments, and if you watch it with friends, you'll probably have a good time. It's just that first half is probably going to be a bit of a slog for you.
I do have the sudden urge to go visit Hawaii now, though.
Yeah, I hear it's a good place this time of year.
Mm-hmm. You know, as long as I stay away from the parts infested with snakes and diamonds and exploding sex dolls. I know, I'd have to do more research first.
All right, is that everything?
Everything on my end. Red?
Yeah, everything's good here. What's next week's film?
That would be my choice.
Yes, it
So,
would.
I've thought about it, and let me ask you guys, would you be up for another action movie?
Sure.
What kind of action movie?
A very enjoyable action movie from start to finish.
Okay.
Let me say something. If you want more of a comparison, that our big issue with this one is that it was kind of a slog. This one is not. This one is very much engaging all the way through, very fast paced. The movie in question is Speed.
Yep, I had a feeling.
What's really
And
funny?
yes,
I've never seen this movie, but I was planning on watching it this week, which is really funny. So, how convenient for me.
Fucking
all
love
right.
Speed.
This
It's
is
so
only
good.
this is only the first Speed. The second Speed will get its own spotlight one day. But I just want to
Yes.
focus on
You
this
sure
one.
you don't want to do a double feature?
Here's the thing. What
It's-
Speed 1 is a good movie. Speed 2 is like one of those so bad it's good movies.
And it's kind
Like-
of it's aesthetically similar to Hard Ticket to Hawaii, and I don't want to do another tropical movie
Okay.
just yet. So only Speed 1 for now. Because
All right.
yeah, I'm with you, Lugia. Jumping the gun right now. I love Speed. It's one of my favorites.
I've never seen Speed, but I heard it's one of those kind of like dark, Die Hard like films, and I'm a big fan of those.
I
like
think this is
Con
a
Air.
rare instance where we've seen the movie and Red hasn't.
You see that Taken of Pelham 1, 2, 3. That's another one I need to watch.
But yeah, I'm looking
Anyway.
forward to this one. Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, you got a closer?
How
What's a funny quote from the movie that we haven't done yet?
just when you thought it was safe to end the podcast. No.
All right, this has been It's Always Sunny in Hawaii. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to have a pair of coffee.